let us all welcome Cecily, Vice President and General Manager of ASEAN and Greater China.
Morning. Good morning, Singapore. Welcome to this very special stop of the Databricks Data and AI World Tour. Good morning, everyone. So today isn't just another conference you attend. It's actually the annual reunion and celebrations of this region's best minds in data, AI, analytics. So all of you turn challenges into opportunities and vision into reality. So whether you are a data scientist, data engineer, data analyst, or someone who is new to harness the power of AI, today is the launch pad of what's to come next. And just let me state the really obvious that the momentum on AI and Gen AI is electrifying. And in the last year, we have seen the world shifted from, oh, there's a hype, to let me take action, and from, is it real? Is it possible, to how fast we can get it? So we are in a really good space right now. And IDC report that just came out confirms exactly that. So the IDC report estimated that in Asia Pac, in the next few years, the spend on AI, Gen AI altogether is going to reach 175 billion. And Gen AI in particular is going to grow at a CAGR of 60% and going to take up 1/3 of the total spend. And in this IDC report is also predicting that Gen AI is no longer some, experimental thing, but is going to be in the main stage and is going to be involved in some really critical use cases like national security, infrastructure provisioning, even to emergency responses. That's going to accelerate the whole digitization and transformation in the region. And Databricks is uniquely positioned to help our customer to unlock the value in AI and Gen AI investment. And we're not saying we have all the answers. We're not saying that. But we are very proud and also very humble that the top analysts, such as Gartner, IDC, and Forrester, place us at the very top because, for one reason, the data intelligence platform from Databricks unifies data and AI on an open and multi-cloud platform and unlocking governance and outcome at scale. And it's not just Databricks itself, it's also our ecosystem of partners that we are very thankful for. So we have a very large ecosystem around the platform. So for example, system integrators that build services and solutions. We also have technology partners that augment our platform, integrate to our platform, and do things that the platform doesn't do. Our build-on partners simply build on a solution and really push the boundary of what the platform can do. And of course, last but not least, very important partners, which is data providers. So these providers allow you to combine your enterprise data with external data to make it even more powerful, to do cross-BU collaboration. And this is the most exciting part. This is all of you. So the 20,000 customers who vote with their wallet on Databricks. So this is what we're most excited about. And of course, those are global stats. So because Singapore is the hub for APJ and we're very much invested in the region, let me share some stats on the APJ region with you. So first and foremost, we're seeing explosive growth. So more than 70% year on year, faster than the global growth. And in order to support all our wonderful customers, we're expanding our family, our team of Bricksters. So currently we have more than 1,000 employees for serving the APJ region in the 8 offices. And we have 1,000 partners in APJ servicing our customers. And many of them are going to be the Expo Hall. I think you have already checked out. So spend some time with them today. And we're also very proud that we have a big community of Databricks certified professionals. So we have trained 18,000 today. And today we are very fortunate to have a very diverse lineup of speakers, which I'm super excited about. So just to call out, we have from the government, GovTech, and also IMDA, and also Techcombank from Vietnam, and Standard Chartered Bank, which is a global bank based in Singapore. And of course, I want to call out that thank you to our wonderful 21 partners who sponsored the event. Today would not be possible without you. And I want to call out the advocate partner, AWS, 5Trend, and Cointac. And we have a really cool agenda today, this morning. So we're going to start with the keynote. So Naveen is going to tell you the journey you can take on this data and AI, what's possible. And then followed by really, really cool sharing from Santhosh from Techcombank. And then Ken Wong is going to tell you how can you superpower your BI with AI. And after the break, Craig is going to take the stage to explain to you how all these little models can work together in this agentic framework for enterprise, bring the models to your data. And then we have Standard Chartered to tell you how they've built an AI factory, which is I'm really looking forward to. And then Naveen is going to have a chat with Sao Shong from GovTech on the government's view on AI and how to give us some tips how to roll out AI at scale. And we will close for lunch. And so with that, I'm going to invite up to stage our VP of AI, Naveen Rao.
Thank you, Cecily. Good morning, everyone. So excited to be here, and thank you for spending the day with us. We know your time is valuable, and the fact you chose to spend it with us and learn a bit about our data and AI platform and how we can help you go faster says a lot. I think, as Cecily said, the world has shifted quite a lot in the last 2 years. I mean, we sort of internally call it the ChatGPT moment. There was a point in time in 2022 where I think the world really did change. And now we're building the tools to mature that whole ecosystem and allow everyone to have access to these capabilities and be able to use them to their own advantage. And I think that's what the data intelligence platform is all about. So our mission is really to democratize these capabilities. What does that really mean? It means that it's not just in the hands of a few elite tech companies who can build, deploy, and customize AI. Data has been a core business in tech for 20 plus years at this point. And it's always been the promise that, hey, if I gather data, I should be able to use that to my advantage. I should be able to use that to be more competitive in my core market. So now we've kind of realized that dream, and it's taken a long time. And fortunately, there have been a lot of really mature data tools that have grown up over the last 20 years, and Databricks being one of them. And we're going to talk a little bit about how preparing your data can actually get you ready to move extremely fast in the AI era that's coming up. All right, so this year, I mean, we're something like 20,000 customers. Every time I present this slide, the number gets bigger. It's amazing. Databricks has grown really fast. I don't know if you saw the announcements, but we just closed a round of funding at 100 billion plus valuation. So, I think we're a company that's here to stay, and it's because we're situated in a very important spot. The company is a little over, I think, 11 years old now, 12 years old now, and has been on this journey of actually trying to bring AI and data together. In fact, Spark initially was built around this purpose to solve a scaling problem. So this is core DNA for the company, and acquisitions like Mosaic and Neon and others that have come together have just been kind of fueling that journey. So now we're going to talk about how we built AI products on top of that core data foundation, and hopefully many of these customers are either benefiting now or will be benefiting very, very soon. So these companies are operating differently. They've shifted away from kind of manual processes and have started utilizing tools like Databricks to actually make their data and now AI journey more scalable. So what does that mean? Well, processes that typically required human review, now we can start to automate. Things that are new product experiences, you can actually gather data and A/B test and do analytics to see what really works, what doesn't, what results in more revenue, what makes customers happier. All of this is kind of core analytics that's been growing up over the last 10 years or so. But now we can use generative AI to actually make that journey even faster. But all of it begins with making sure your data foundation is solid. Oops. There we go. All right, so the data landscape has actually been quite fragmented over the last 10 plus years. So this is the natural thing. When you have a new technology, there are multiple vendors who try to build it. In fact, at this time, like if you think back to maybe 2010 timeframe, cloud was really starting to expand, and it gave birth to SaaS, software as a service. So everyone's trying to move fast. You're building new interfaces. You're building new vertical tools. And each one of those tools had some way of gathering data or utilizing data as part of their stack. So that actually resulted in a highly fragmented ecosystem. One solution to that was trying to connect all of these different disparate sources. So like I have a CRM, I have marketing, I have HR data. All of those things were kind of in separate databases. So now we need to bring this together to reduce the complexity. And in fact, in the world of AI, this becomes even more crucial, because if I want to contextualize AI across multiple data sources, it needs to have seamless connectivity between them. When I have multiple formats and I have different kinds of permissions and user management systems, it actually becomes very difficult to make this stuff work in the real world. Anyone who's tried to build these systems could attest. Like, it's just it's the complexity that prevents people from moving forward. All right, so when the data state is a mess, it's not just complexity in terms of slowing us down. It's also real cost. This is human time. It's competitive moats within your own market, and really that leads to slower decision making. So as I mentioned before, Gen AI, we believe it's going to help you be more competitive within your own market. But at the same time, if you don't have your data estate in a shape to take advantage of it, you're never going to be able to compete in that new world. And so that more agile competitor that actually has made things less complex is able to utilize their data for AI is going to win. So don't be that guy. Be the one that wins. All right, so formats have been a big problem. So we talked about SaaS being kind of creating these silos, but even outside of that, there have been multiple competing formats on how to structure data and how to have unstructured data as part of that whole platform. This is something that has been an evolving set of standards. Databricks has been part of this. Other companies in our space that are competitive have also put forth different standards. But what's great now is that these standards were actually all built on one standard called Parquet. And they differed by the way they used metadata, or the format of the metadata. So fortunately, we actually brought into Databricks one of the big standard formats out there, Iceberg, the open source, the company that was building the open source version of that. And we've actually been able to reconcile these things. And so now we believe that argument can go away. You don't need to think about formats anymore, and we can kind of make both work very seamlessly with Unity Catalog, with all of our AI tools, all of our serverless backends, all of these kinds of things. So this has really made, this is going to be a big advantage for customers out there. I think everyone is afraid of lock-in. Open standards are the way forward, and now we basically cover the two biggest open standards out there. And I kind of hinted at this, but unified governance is the next layer. Once you get your formats in a place where they're conforming to standards, now we need to have a central point of governance. In fact, governance has now become, I would say, the main coordination point. So what is governance? It's effectively a catalog of where all your data lives. So we'll talk about how that can work in using multiple types of systems and unifying that approach. But I think the main aspect here is that I have one single copy of data, and I can essentially point to it from one central catalog. When I have that coordination point, now I can do things like access controls, lineage tracking, all of the things that you need to be able to do when you have many users interacting with data, modifying data, and being able to access data. And in fact, when I start thinking about the agentic world, with generative AI, we start seeing this problem multiplied by 100x. Imagine, you have 1,000 people interacting with your data. What if each one of those 1,000 people now has 10 or 100 agents working on their behalf? So that problem has just gotten much more difficult. And you really need to get this foundation in place before you can even move into that world. I think if you don't have the foundation in place, trying to get Gen AI to work on your system is really not going to be a fruitful approach. All right, so let's click into the catalogs for a second. So catalogs, like Unity Catalog, is actually a new category, really. So it unifies all the assets. Why is this important? Well, I think the different formats actually created a world where we have to start thinking about what, different data in different stores, different systems are built on top of those different stores. So now if I want to do something that's contextualized across them, or can actually have a central place where I can track how data was transformed, where data was moved, who sourced that data, I need to have one central place for that. I can't go and have to rectify multiple systems every time I have one of these queries. So traditional catalogs only can do part of that. Like if I have one system and it tracks the lineage and it doesn't actually talk to another system, what if someone took data from both of those things, merged them in some way and then wrote them to another table? There's no way to track across these different systems. So you need one centralized place to do this. This is the way to unify across all our different assets. And for all these use cases, including Gen AI, it unifies those capabilities. So this is something I think is extremely important, and actually we see in almost every account that we're in, is federation. So we also understand the real world is complicated. You built systems in a legacy way, and it's extremely expensive and difficult to say, hey, I'm going to just make one unified data system underneath it all. There are historical reasons for that. There are even team and budgeting reasons many times for that. With Unity Catalog, we can actually connect all of these things together in a way that allows you to start to think about this unification. We can federate data and have that central pointer be from Unity Catalog. And then all of these APIs that are built on top can actually essentially coordinate through Unity Catalog. In fact, all the Gen AI tools that we built, they're relatively new within the last, call it, year and a half or so. Those tools all rely on Unity Catalog. So in fact, we have to have that in place before you can even get the best of our Gen AI tools. And this was done purposefully because we understand we don't want to create another mess for our customers. We want to make sure that we provide a pattern that's organized and scalable to make you move faster. All right, so when we lay out the data intelligence platform, it's actually pretty simple. So we have our formats, we have our core data foundation, we have Unity Catalog, which tracks and governs that data, and then we have different services built on top. It seems pretty simple, right? Each one of these services actually starts getting incredibly complicated on its own because now people are using them for so all kinds of systems of record and iterating very fast. I would say in the AI world, things move extremely quickly. Interfaces aren't stable yet. Tools that we build, sometimes we deprecate in a few months. We keep changing and adding more stuff. So those top boxes actually have varying levels of maturity and stability depending on the what the customer needs are. All right, so let's talk a little bit about the AI side of things. So on data, we have ETL pipelines and ingest pipelines, which we're going to talk about in just a moment. But we've tried to add a few different interfaces to interact with data. And I think one of our goals from the democratization standpoint is to move beyond just a technical user. So Databricks has been typically a tool for data engineers, people who are technical developers who can actually understand how to write DB SQL and potentially Python and other things. But now the users of data are actually many times business owners or marketing or HR or something like that. And so they're not necessarily people who can write code, but they do actually know what kind of questions they want to ask of the data. It allows them to make better decisions. And so we started adding these other interfaces that would basically go after a different user persona. And in fact, it's not in this deck, but we're going to be launching very soon something called Databricks One, which is a pared down interface for Databricks that allows you to build some of these tools, these genies and dashboards, into a simple interface that doesn't have all the knobs on it to enable non-technical users to be able to consume this content. So Genie is basically a text to SQL engine that allows you to interact with data directly. So you can type queries in English. If I have all my sales data in Databricks, for instance, and I want to say, well, how much did I sell in EMEA last year? Or how much did I sell in EMEA over the last 5 years? It can actually produce that query for you, and then you can plot it. This is kind of what an analyst used to do, and now we can basically up-level that interface to a non-technical user. An assistant was originally built more for the data engineer to get more out of Databricks. Can they move faster on Databricks? We're now adding things like agent mode inside of Assistant that can allow you to do data science itself. You can actually start to ask questions of your data from the assistant directly. So I think this is actually a huge unlock. Again, makes it so much simpler, even for the technical user, frankly, to get value out of the platform, but even increasing the aperture of the user base for Databricks. So on the core AI tools, we have all the portfolio of all the different capabilities that you need. So some of these things have now become standards. Things like vector search. So if you've built a RAG system, retrieval augmented generation, you know what vector search is. This is basically embedding data, making it searchable and indexable, and then using that as context to answer queries in a grounded way. So that is a standard tool now. We see actually quite robust growth there. And this is well baked into Databricks, meaning that it conforms to Unity Catalog. It conforms to all of the governance controls that we have. And when you transform data and you embed it into our vector search, it actually, all of those attributes follow. So I think having those things unified in one place actually has a ton of value. Guardrails, LLM judges. So when you build an agent or even just use a model, you actually want to be able to put some hard guardrails on it, per se, like make sure it doesn't have profanity, or don't output particular keywords or something like that. So we have those capabilities. You can also do things like cost controls and rate limits, stuff like this per user. That all goes into model governance, which is also sort of part of this guardrails product and AI gateway. And just generally managing your models and managing your agents is something that we've spent a lot of time on with the ML Ops tool. It's called ML Flow. We actually launched ML Flow 3.0 just a couple of months ago. So this is all available within Databricks now. And some of the new stuff that's come is on the agent serving and model evaluation side. So we've actually spent a lot of time on the scientific back end of understanding what are the problems that people have with rolling out models and customizing them. It actually turns out evaluating the performance is the first thing that people get wrong. In fact, most customers don't actually have a very clear sense of what success looks like. So we're building tools to help them build those evaluations. And when they build the evaluation, now all the downstream tools make sense. I can start to use fine tuning. I can do things where I optimize the cost by keeping quality constant. All of these things become possible when I built a proper evaluation. And so once you've built your model and agent and you have it at a state where it actually looks useful, you can actually now serve it at scale. We have customers doing, 1 billion tokens per minute on our platform. So we can go from experimentation all the way to full-on production scale at the highest levels. So I think we're really trying to service with our AI tools and portfolio, really trying to service those app builders who are trying to build AI based on the top of their data. And of course, let's not forget classical ML. These are forecasting functions. You have to use extensively in finance, data science workloads, finding just doing basic analytical analysis on your data. In fact, we believe that Gen AI will leverage a lot of those tools and actually be able to call those functions directly. So I think that's actually quite powerful within our platform. It's all one thing. So when I have an analytical function built around classical ML, I can actually call that from an agent. And I think that's actually some of the power here. And we're seeing very quick uptake. I mean, of course, classical ML has been around for a long time. A lot of our customers, this is a core capability for them. But now generative AI is actually being used by 81% of our customers, 20,000 customers. You can see it just took off very fast. Actually, Ali Ghodsi, our CEO, I think just yesterday was on an interview saying that we're at $1 billion run rate revenue on AI already. So it's something that's taken off very fast. This business didn't exist really at any scale 3 years ago. So this is something that's just taken off really fast. All right, so 3 areas driving impact: simplifying the production of agents. I touched on this just a little bit. Making sure you prepare for those intelligent applications and implement data intelligence as a whole. All right, so let's talk about simplifying production. So this is what Agentbricks is all about. We announced this at Data and AI Summit in June. And actually, since that time, there's already been a lot of things that have changed. We're continuously improving this. And it's actually kind of a, a microcosm of an agent itself. It's a continuous improvement platform. So one of the biggest problems we saw was that evaluation is very hard. Well, all right, so once you have the evaluation, how do you make the agent better? How do you improve its quality? This actually turned out to be a kind of deeply technical problem for many of our customers. If I want to do fine tuning, what do I set the learning rate at? If I want to do re-ranking from my retrieval database, how do I have a judgment model to do that? These are all very hard problems for our customers. So we said, okay, look, our customers don't necessarily care about those things. They care about quality. How can I increase it? How can I make it cheaper? How can I make it faster? So we tried to give them those knobs. So I think we're going to enable this new world where, one person could build a $1 billion company, right? I think we're kind of getting there. But the hype is kind of set expectations at a point where the technology can't really deliver yet. And this has created a little bit of a disillusionment, I'd say, in 2025. I think Cecily hinted at this a bit. In 2024, everyone was experimenting, trying different things, learning. It was interesting because at that time, the tools were actually kind of immature. So the experimentations were good because people learned about what Gen AI can do and what it can't do. But the hype continued. And the tools are now catching up and getting to a point where we can actually start to deliver some of this value. But still, the expectations, many of you, I'm sure, in your companies have very high expectations on what your boss's boss thinks Gen AI can deliver, and you're left sitting there, how do I make this happen? Well, that's what we're trying to help you with, help you go faster and build the right abstractions for you. So even still, and I think this is actually quite new data, 88% of AI pilots fail. I think actually there's an MIT study that showed 95%. So, still the vast majority of these things fail. And I think it's because people are still using abstractions from last year. They're not aware of the newest abstractions, not just from us, from the entire industry. And now we're all sort of learning what those abstractions need to look like to actually support enterprise development and enterprise application deployment. So productionizing is hard. It's hard because of scale. It's hard because of trade-offs of cost and quality. And we're trying to automate these away. So how are my agents performing? We talked about that. That's building evaluations. So an evaluation is actually not a static thing. This is the other thing about Databricks is that we continuously monitor and it allows you to update those evaluations as you learn how your users will use an agent. So this is not a static thing. We help you get going, and then we provide the tools to continually refine. And which techniques do I use to optimize? So we're going to hide a lot of that and make it easy for you. And then how do I balance quality and cost? So this is actually something that I think seems like an easy trade-off. Like, oh, I just have a slider, right? If I want to make something cheaper, I have to make the quality worse. Well, it actually turns out there's a lot of science that had to go into making that kind of tool work. In fact, many times we can even hold quality constant and go and optimize. And under the hood, we're doing things like fine-tuning models, we're fine-tuning embedding models, we're building LLM judges, all kinds of techniques under the hood. But the fortunate reality is today you don't have to go and learn all of that. You can just use the slider that's in our tool. So you've heard agents probably from every tech vendor out there. And some people, I think, kind of feed into the myth that agents are this panacea. It's going to solve every problem for you. Well, the reality is agents are built for a purpose. That's the way we see it. Agents are not something that's just a generic capability that can learn anything. We actually see there are a few different patterns, and we're continually adding new patterns here. And so we call these bricks, agent bricks. So information extraction is a great example. We saw a very common pattern where people have unstructured data, like lots and lots of text, and they want to parse that into some sort of structured format, like a JSON output. And we said, okay, well, let's build a brick that allows you to have that capability out of the box, describe what you're trying to do and what kind of data you're dealing with, and actually produce, an agent out of the box that can kind of work for that task. And over time, with an iterative process, you can refine it. Knowledge Assistant is another such pattern. So, I mean, I can't tell you how many times I've heard, can you build a customer support bot that helps our customer support agents? Can you build an HR bot that allows our employees to, ask HR questions? These are very common patterns where I have a corpus of text and I want to be able to provide, really good responses to some population. So that actually turns out to not be that simple. Initially, people were like, oh, just throw RAG at it, no big deal. Turns out that's not going to work. Maybe you can get a demo to work or something like that, but there's a lot of quality tuning you have to do to get there. And really, this is what Knowledge Assistant does. I'm not going to go through all of these things, but you can kind of get the idea. Each one does something specific and is a set of tools that's been engineered from the ground up to actually solve this kind of problem. And we actually do have this multi-agent supervisor, which is a new pattern we're seeing where people have agents that do specific things, like maybe you have a knowledge assistant, maybe you have a information extractor, but then also you want to be able to have one master agent that can call into those. That's actually what this is doing. So how do you use AgentBricks? As I said, we wanted to up-level that interface. And this interface is just describe to it what you want to do. The better the description, the better the output will be. The old adage of garbage in, garbage out still applies here, but now you can do it in English, which is great. So, build an agentic system that answers questions about automobiles we offer. Okay, well now actually there's a lot embedded in this sentence, right? So you're saying answer questions and you're saying automobiles and we offer. Actually, that's a lot, right? So it's saying like, well, this has to be stuff that's in our inventory. It has to be cars. So I'm not going to be talking about, I don't know, balloons or something. And answer questions about that. That has an implication that maybe people are buying those cars or renting them or something like that. So just from that, we can actually discern a lot of semantics. And we can then go build a system that does this. We create an LLM judge that actually says, okay, these are the kind of outputs that would be useful for that kind of task. So we make some assumptions here. You can go and guide that through an iterative process. Then we go and auto-optimize the system. So that's what I mentioned. We can prompt tune, we can fine tune, we can re-rank, we can change embedding models. And then we can present to you, the user, cost quality trade-offs. And maybe cost doesn't matter. In some applications, you said, I just want the best possible quality. Great. We can do that, get something working out of the box. Almost every time when something gets to scale, we see costs start to matter. So there will be a point in time after you understand that task and you've actually rolled it out to a number of users, if you have a high-scale platform, that you're going to start thinking about cost. So this will always come up at some point, maybe not at the beginning. And so this whole system is agent-oriented. And like I said, this is iterative. It doesn't stop. You keep adding more to this and making the agent better. And it's just like software development, if you think about it, right? When I put a piece of software out there, people use it, you get feedback, you have bug reports, you incorporate that, you make it better. The next version comes out. I almost think of agents as software development on steroids. It just goes much, much faster. That loop is not 6 months between releases. That loop is hours, maybe days today. It's going to be minutes, maybe even seconds in the future as these things learn to self-adapt. All right, so how do we prepare for these intelligent applications? So database technology was really built in an old time. It had a lot of lock-in, and I'm not going to go through all the old databases out there, but 40 years of database technology. And don't get me wrong, super useful. I mean, CRM systems and ERP systems, all these things have a purpose. They were built to scale businesses in unprecedented ways at the time, but they're very hard to migrate, and they're very expensive. And a lot of people are living with this legacy now. And a lot of this stuff was actually built before cloud existed. So it wasn't their fault that they're designed for on-prem. That was the world you lived in if you were using an ERP or something from 1990. But now we're in this world of cloud where I can set up, tear down systems very quickly. Cost structures are quite a bit different. It's not sunk cost model, it's a usage and consumption model. So we kind of need to rethink this a bit. So we're jumping the gun here. We not only rethought it from a cloud perspective, that's what Databricks and sort of modern data foundation is about, we actually see that agents are going to be the things that start spinning up databases and spinning them down. And we started working with a company called Neon toward the beginning of the year and observed that they actually have 4x the number of databases spun up on Neon by agents versus humans. So that's an interesting trend, right? I think Databricks at that time was thinking, well, we want to be that central coordination point. And Postgres and online serving versus offline serving is actually something we wanted to unify. So we already had a product in development inside of Databricks, but working with the team at Neon, we said it's best to join forces. So Neon is now part of Databricks, and we are building this kind of centralized platform. We have one unified source of truth. We can do offline analysis and analytics as we normally do, building your AI. And now we have this online Postgres setup where we can actually spin up, spin down, orchestrate things through agents. It's actually quite powerful. So this is going to be, you're going to see new updates coming over the next 6 months to a year on this whole topic. It's going to be a really important thing for Databricks and our users. What you're seeing really is a movement from Databricks being a pure data and analytical platform to something that really supports app development. So Lakebase is the name for this kind of online serving OLTP database. Let's talk about that just a moment. So transactional processing for the next era. So as I said, Postgres foundation, but APIs that are very fast and amenable to agents. So it's very low latency, high QPS, and production SLAs. This is, again, very different than an offline OLAP kind of setup that Databricks was before. But we want to make sure we unify those things in terms of one source of truth, one source of data, not multiple copies of data. And it's built for AI. So what does that really mean? You could just say, well, I can call any API from AI. That is true, but you need to be able to launch very fast. And you really need to make this purely consumptive, not a per seat usage or something like that. So business models actually turn out to be important when you start thinking about, like, wait, if something is accelerated by 100x compared to what humans used to do, I actually need to rethink how I sell it. I need to rethink some of the SLAs that it offers to the product. So that's really what Neon has done very well, and we're very excited to have them as part of Databricks. All right, so it offers new use cases here. So this is what we're all about here, is building that backend to support the new app development stack. There are certain things that are always true in apps now. You got to have data, you got to have AI, and you got to have compute. And so this is solving part of how do I get data into the system, and how do I make it amenable to be used by agents and AI that are going to support your application. And so case management for customer support, all interactions, one system, governance. This is basically the same kind of theme, that if I don't have governance in one singular place, I'm never going to be able to build toward this agentic future. Everything's just going to get way faster, way more complicated, and get out of hand much faster if you don't rein it in from the start. And so internal service tools, safe experimentation, access policies, test environments. This is actually going to be even more critical. Like if you have a mistake and it goes to prod, things will just move that much faster. You'll have that much more damage. So really, this is kind of the new rethinking of something in the agentic world. Lakebase is providing those foundations and tools for you to build an agentic set of apps. And of course, if you use this stuff and you find errors, you find ways we could be working better and building better tools, please do let us know that. All right, so how do we use data intelligence to our advantage? So one of the big things that people have done on Databricks is being able to make better decisions based on data. That's business intelligence. Business intelligence was typically done through dashboarding. So people would say, okay, well, I'm building, a dashboard so this manager can know what the trade-offs are. So now we can start to make that whole process much more interactive. Instead of saying, here's a static dashboard, now that dashboard updates. Now that dashboard you can interact with in English, so I can actually make new cuts of the data. I can actually add new plots and new graphs. That's what AI BI is all about. And we've seen massive growth in this over the last year, percent over the last year because it's just so easy and it fits an existing persona. It's like the data analyst supporting a business leader. Now the business leader can kind of do some of that stuff on their own. So scaling BI to everyone is really the goal here. And as I mentioned, we have a new product called Databricks One that actually allows you to bring these dashboards to a simplified interface for those non-technical users. And so your data analyst can build a dashboard, can put a genie in it. So basically they can hit the button, give me a genie, interact with that data all within a very simplified dashboard, not have a bunch of buttons on the side where they feel like they're going to break something within a platform. So we're clearly differentiating now between that highly technical user and the non-technical user, which I think is a great step forward. And really, Genie is this new capability that allows you to be much more dynamic with this decision frameworking. So you can't anticipate every question. This is what BI has tried to do and applied, flexibility to building these graphs quickly. Power BI was one of the big ones that people use, actually, even with Databricks. We built our own tools to do these kinds of things. But really, you want managers to be empowered to query their own data. And teaching managers DB-SQL is probably not the path forward. Let them ask those questions in English. And really, that's what Genie does. In fact, Genie is used extensively inside of Databricks. Our finance team has everything inside of Databricks. We use Genie all the time to query different kinds of results. If I want to understand, what customers are using a particular tool, we're actually using Genie inside. So we really do use these tools internally and get an advantage from it, I think. And so one thing that I think is key here is that, so you can query the data, that's fine, but it actually maintains context. So it knows the kind of questions you've been asking. It can actually contextualize the response with that. Of course, you can tell it, hey, don't think about that, think about this, and tell it tell it to ignore that previous context. But it is quite important that you can continually interact. It's like this dive deeper or something on Google if you've used that. It's basically a continuous conversation with your data. I think this is a really new and profound interface. And we're seeing this not just across data tools, but across many different experiences. But again, all of this requires your data to be in a great data warehouse. And having everything in a centralized place like Unity Catalog, centrally governed, is critical. Not just critical, it's an absolute hard requirement to make this work. Okay, so let's touch on DB-SQL. This is sort of the hard underpinnings of Databricks, really. And this was a journey that we set out, I believe, in 2018, 2019 timeframe. At that time, if anyone remembers Databricks, we actually didn't have a data warehouse. We didn't have DB-SQL. So people use Databricks more for ETL and job orchestration using Spark. And fast forward, this is actually one of the biggest products that we sell today, and actually has a massive adoption across the globe. Why is that? Why could we have come out of obscurity into a relatively mature area and actually gain so much market share? I think it's the fact that we have so many tools around that all work together. That unification process is really the value here. So Unity Catalog started, I think, in 2019. That's unification of governance, unification of compute around serverless, now unification of AI tools, putting your data in one place. All of those things together are actually synergistic. They reduce complexity to a point where you can actually get stuff done. And what's more is that this is not like some static thing where, hey, we built our SQL engine and we're done. We actually continuously make it faster and cheaper. So we are actually at the forefront here. I won't say who the blue guys are. You probably know. But we do try to make things faster and cheaper for our customers continuously. This is a part of the core engineering development of our company, is really making this performance better. And largely that comes from observations of how people use these databases, which actually changes over time. I think in the agentic world, we're still seeing some early signals, but these patterns are going to change, and we're going to have to optimize for different things. Okay, so last major topic here is migrations. I actually have talked to several customers about this kind of thing. Migrations are moving from legacy databases, Teradata, that sort of a thing, into modern foundations like Databricks. And this is typically a very manual process. It's manual because Obviously, data formats have to be, you know, mapped correctly. Permissions have to be mapped correctly, that kind of a thing. We're trying to make this process as simple as possible. I mean, if anything, it's self-serving. We want to get more customers onto our platform. But it really is a headache for our customers, and it's something that actually holds back their progress, and we don't really like that. So we want to see how we can reduce complexity, reduce labor, and automate these tasks so that we don't have like human errors introduced into the process. So Lakebridge is a set of tools. You can almost think of it like a custom agent that actually does some of this for you. It scopes the assessment automatically, has LLMs that can convert code over. So you can actually say like, here's some of the queries you're running on your legacy database. We can make those into DB SQL. Actually migrate the data, so bring it into the lakehouse, and then validate. And of course, this has human in the loop for all of these kinds of tools. But we do actually support multiple different warehouses out there. That's not true for every warehouse, every possible scenario. They're all a little bit different. But this gives you, call it 80 or 90% of the solution. And I think it's a huge accelerant. And whether it's in Iceberg or Delta, Databricks, or some other competitors tool, I think helping our customers move along the journey of going from on-prem older technologies to newer in cloud technologies is just going to be a win for the whole ecosystem. So we believe this is actually extremely useful just to move customers faster through the process to get them AI ready. So this is completely free, by the way. This is not something we're charging for today. We do help with migrations where needed, but this set of tools is free. And it's been proven already on hundreds of migrations. It's not something that is brand new. It's been built up iteratively through the last year or two, as far as I know. And we will be adding more capabilities, more connectors to this over time. And every scenario we see looks a little bit different. Can we somehow automate that? Can we find patterns across them that we can build into our tools? All right, so that's the data intelligence platform, all the way from data, governance, agents, and production. This is what we're trying to build. This is what we are building, and we're supporting your applications, what you're trying to build. And think of Databricks not just as a offline analytical tool anymore, but actually something that supports your production applications. And you can actually get started with a free edition. We actually have a number of folks in academia working on this today. Virtually all of Databricks is there. Obviously, there's an on-ramp to paid services as well here, but you can start to kick the tires. You can play with these tools. You can start to use our AI ML capabilities inside of a free edition and just get exposure to it. So with that, I'd like to hand it over to a customer, which we always love to hear from. So Santhosh, why don't you tell us a little bit about your use case?
Thank you, Naveen. Now, please put your hands together to welcome Santhosh Mahendiran, Chief Data and Analytics Officer of Techcombank.
Good morning. So, Naveen spoke a lot about the technology of Databricks. So, what you're going to hear from me is, how did we actually put it to use? Did we create value? Did we create impact? Is Databricks really good, or are they selling a good story? So, now, our mission at Techcombank is to lead the digital transformation of Vietnam, not just the banking industry, but across Vietnam. We are the largest private sector bank in Vietnam. I mean, we have close to 12,000 employees. We have more than $1.1 billion in PBT last year. This year, we'll end up around 1.4, 1.3. The numbers are still not decided. But we have close to 300 branches. And we have a capital adequacy ratio of 15.3 and an ROA of 2.6. For those in banking, you'll realize that those are pretty strong numbers. And hence, yeah, so we kind of are a pretty well-placed bank. Our vision is kind of very closely tied to our mission. So as I told you, our mission is to lead the digital transformation in Vietnam. Our vision is to change banking and change lives. Again, this is a pretty rich slide. I would like to always put it up to show that we are not just a small bank. We have been recognized by a lot of good institutions. Some awards can be purchased. Some awards need to be won. The one on the left, we've continuously won for the last 2 years across all major financial recognized awardees. So basically, Global Finance, Asia Money, Euro Money, everyone recognizes that we are the top bank in Vietnam. Now, it's very easy for me to say, how did we do it? How did we do it? What are some examples? How did Databricks help us? Did they help us at all? Did we create value, etc.? How did we measure impact? But I think the fundamental question that I would always like to start with is answering why. In any transformation, what I would encourage all of you is to answer the why first. If you don't answer the why, the rest of the questions become moot. So that's something. So let's start with the why. At Techcom, as you can see, right? I mean, this is a very simplified picture, but for the sake of brevity, we've got two big business entities. We are a full-fledged bank. We have retail banking, we have corporate institutional banking, we've got markets, everything, right? But if you split it into just two pyramids for the sake of brevity, we are pretty good at the top of the pyramid. So with retail bank, we are pretty good with our rich customers or affluent customers, as we call it. And with our corporate bank, we bank almost all the top clients in Vietnam, the top corporations in Vietnam, top 10 to 15 corporations. Almost everyone banks with us. What we realized is, if you want to go down the value chain, the easy way is to increase the number of people, and you can kind of go down the value chain. But that's not sustainable. You can't just keep growing by just adding people. That's just not going to add value. And that's where technology comes in. So we use a formula called DDT, which is called data, digital, talent. That's core to our strategy. And we realized that if we harness that, we'll be able to create magic. And that's the whole mantra for us. Data, how do you get data? This is our strategy in short. How do you harness every piece of data? There's no bad data for us. We source every piece of information. How do we leverage on digital? Now it's AI, because digital, this was 4 years back when we started the strategy. And of course, talent. But the most important part is the circle in the middle. And that's the most difficult part to replicate, which is how can you create differentiation? For us, data is just not a lipstick. Data is core to our strategy, right? And it's easy to buy all tools. You can buy Databricks, you can buy Adobe, Salesforce, AWS, Google, whatever you want. And the key is to put this together. That also some people can do. But the most hardest part is, how does it all come together to create value? And that's very, very unique. And that each company has to harness on its own. So my focus is on the data part. While we have a huge transformation story, I'm just going to focus on the data part here. And if you look at it, our pillars, basically there are 4 pillars. I call this the lasagne model, right? So we have a platform which basically is needed, as Naveen was saying, you needed to source every piece of information, gather it, cleanse it. The plumbing part of it, that's what we've done. We've got a knowledge repository, a combination of Unity Catalog and Colibra. Only recently this year, Databricks announced that Unity Catalog can extend beyond what is available in the Databricks space. And that was a much needed improvement for us. So we will move even from Colibra to Unity Catalog in future, make it that much more seamless. We built some products on top, quite a lot of products. Some worked, some didn't work, truth be told, but we started to measure the value and impact of each. And then we got a personalization on top, which we call the brain. So this is what is our lasagne layer, and this is what we use to measure value. So let me talk a little bit about the platform. When we started this journey 4 years back, our cloud provider and hyperscaler, we are on AWS. When we started on the journey, we were fully on AWS native, and it was working well. But at some point, we hit a brick wall, primarily because we just had to build everything grounds up. And that was just not sustainable, primarily because there was no talent available, but more importantly, it was taking time. And so we realized we had to get one of those. So I was always clear from day one that we had to pivot to one of the accelerators. Either the two leaders are either Databricks or Snowflake. And then when we did our comparison, there were 3 reasons that stood out. Actually, 2, and the third reason since recently. The first is the concept of lake house. So either you have a data lake or the warehouse. And Lakehouse provided the best of both. And that was very, very important for us. Second, when we started the data journey, as I told you, we were not looking for BI automation, or we were not looking for dashboards. we were looking for differentiation, AI, and ML advantage. And Databricks clearly provided that. Their AI ML superiority over any other providers stood out by a mile. So that was a big advantage for us. And the third, as I told you, which has come recently, is this extension of Unity Catalog. While it was always powerful, Unity was kind of restricted to the data available on Databricks space. And recently, they've extended it beyond Databricks also. I was at San Francisco, and I met with Matai, and he was very clearly explaining the rationale for going beyond, and it makes a lot of sense. So these were the simple reasons why we decided we'll go. We built it, and yes, it generated some. We have the typical medallion architecture. For those who are familiar with it, it's the bronze, silver, gold. We source almost close to 150 systems, varied systems across various product processors. We get all kinds of data, structured, unstructured, semi-structured, voice, name it, streaming, near real-time, batch, weekly, monthly, all formats. And then we get democratized access across the entire ecosystem. Let me talk about a couple of products which are important. So LACE stands for Lead Allocation and Curation Engine. As I told you, we have almost all the technologies. So we are not bereft of toys. We've got Salesforce, we've got Adobe, we've got AWS, we've got Databricks. But then when we started the journey, we clearly realized that while Salesforce and Adobe are there, they're powerful tools, we will control our destiny. Typically, when you implement Salesforce and Adobe, you ship data to Salesforce and Adobe and expect Salesforce and Adobe to build your models for you. And that's how it works in 90% of the organization, nothing wrong. But the reality is, we said we have more data than what Salesforce and Adobe can use. We will build the models, and we will orchestrate and send the results to Salesforce and Adobe to kind of act more like a good front-end tool. And that we call it as brain, right? That's a central brain. And that acts as an omni-channel orchestrator. LACE basically feeds off this brain, and all the leads which are allocated to our frontline are then based on that. Here is a generative AI assistant, which think of it as Alexa. So every RM has a generative AI assistant, which helps them to take notes, summarize, follow up, etc. So if you look at LACE, this is the actual CRM screen. It's in Vietnamese. Each of the leads has got an AI lead score with an explanation saying why this lead was assigned to which RM and why do we think the propensity works this way. So that the RMs also understand why they are getting the lead. It's not blindly done, but it's done with a little bit of mathematics and science in the background. So when the RM actually starts using the leads, he or she truly understands why it was assigned in the first place. If you look at Hanoi, like I told you, which is the Alexa for us, every RM has a pitch deck, which is readily prepared before he or she meets someone. It has a combination of external data, internal data, latest information. It also has a single customer view pane, where all the details about the customer are upfront put. So all this is built on our Databricks and AWS platform, and we entirely are using our brain for this. When I say our brain, that's the central brain that we built across the bank, which acts as the omni-channel orchestrator. Now, where are we, right? As we have started building those platforms, we are also moving towards, as Naveen also spoke about, agentic AI. We have chatbots across the bank. Everybody has built a lot of GPTs across all the banks, right? So we also have our own knowledge-based GPT called Smarty, which takes a repository, and then we've got our HR chatbot agent, we've got customer service agents. But what we need to truly do is build agentic workflows and build orchestration. And that's the third phase. Again, working closely with Databricks, we are trying to see how we can actually push the boundaries. But the true value creation and impact is there at the last end of the funnel. That's where we need to move to. But obviously, you need to pass through this step, multi-agent systems, before you can actually go on and embed it into the workflows. This is where we are in our journey, which is our next phase. Let's see a demo of how our hyper-personalization works.
In today's dynamic banking environment, it is crucial to provide customers with personalized and timely services. And our hyper-personalization project, driven by Customer Brain and Customer-Centric Decision Engine CCDE, is a key step in our AI-lead digital transformation. It focuses on tailoring unique engagement plans for each of our 15 million customers to align with their individual preferences and needs. With over 12,000 internal data features like demographics, transactions, geolocations, combined with external insights like ecosystem penetration, family ties, and community scores, our comprehensive customer profile leverages powerful AI models such as next best offer, next best action, segmentation, and churn to gain a deeper understanding of our 15 million customers. Furthermore, to enhance engagement and avoid overwhelming customers with impersonal product-focused communication, the decision engine has been developed to enable an event-triggered customer engagement system across omni-channel, MarTech, CRM, VAC. So what have we achieved through this approach? Maximized TOI while balancing product targets by shifting from product campaigns to a customer-centric approach. Integrating existing AI models, optimized engagement preferences with personalized content, and offers based on individual customer interests and needs. Consistent communication across all touchpoints using a dynamic contact strategy. Continuous improvement by leveraging feedback such as click-through rates and transaction data to enhance quality and refined strategies. An example with Customer Min, a 20-year-old banking employee in Hanoi, who regularly uses his credit card and enjoys a morning coffee routine. With the help of NBA/NBO and AI model, CCDE recognizes significant transactions on Min's card and sends him a personalized installment offer via push notification at 7 p.m. This ensures that he receives relevant and valuable financial solutions tailored to his needs and preferences. Additionally, CCDE also sends a customized in-app message, offering a 20,000 Grab food discount for Starbucks purchases when using Techcombank card at 7 a.m. in the morning, perfectly timed to enhance his experience. Before CCDE, campaigns are generic, targeting an entire group of 100,000 customers at a fixed times across various channels. After CCDE, he introduces offers based on customers' lifestyle and habits, delivering through personalized channels and at a personalized optimal time to boost engagement. For Min, we offer Grab food discount for Starbucks purchases via message in-app. However, for other people like Hai, she may also get Grab discount, but Grab traveling discount to go to their preferred Hai Di Lao restaurant. And the message will be delivered via push notification at 6 p.m. Friday night, when Hai engages the most. Overall, CCDE is a comprehensive solution that harnesses advanced analytics and AI techniques to provide hyper-personalization of customer insights through personalized channels and personalized time.
So, I told you at the beginning of my presentation that our focus is on value creation and impact. So let's look at what value did we create, right? So I sit on the executive team at Techcom. I have a P&L target. Every year I have to generate incremental revenue. Last year I generated 914. This year I'll generate close to 1.5, which is around 50 to 60 million US dollars. Our LACE and Hanoi are used by more than 4,000 RMs, right? And this is extensively used. Our underwriting models have 20% uplift. And we are now generating more and more pre-qualified leads. Our quality of pre-qualified leads is increasing tremendously. If you look at our NBO and NBA uplift versus what we were doing earlier, we measure it very, very carefully, and there's a significant uplift. This is something that I'm proud about. Our EXCO and ALCO, these are the highest decision-making bodies in the bank. When 5 years back, we had tons of Excels, and people used to sit and go through Excels. Today, the way we run EXCO ALCO is fully automated. Naveen spoke about all these automated BI reports, etc. We have live reports, live dashboards. So whenever there is EXCO and ALCO happening, there are no reports shared. People ask questions on the fly, and it's fully interactive. And again, this is just some dream that some companies have, and we actually do that. We launch new products which are entirely based on alternate data. We don't use financial data. And within 6 months, again, these are small numbers, but within 6 months, we are able to generate measurable $5 to $6 million in new revenue, which the bank never had earlier. we have seen a huge jump, humongous jump in the number of campaigns. As you can see, when we start to hyper-personalize at scale, obviously there will be a growth in number of campaigns. We are seeing a 30x growth in number of campaigns. You heard that we had more than 12,000 plus customer features in our feature store, and we continue to build and enrich. We also deprecate some of the features that are not performing, but we maintain a total rich asset of all customer features. And this is again something that I'm proud of, right? We have close to 9,000 plus. Even our tellers in branch have undergone data and AI training. We have data and AI courses in Vietnamese. So right from our CEO to the board members to the management team, every person undergoes data and AI training. Because if you don't change the business process, if you don't upskill, while you can build all these data and AI workflows, it's not going to help. This is my last slide. I want to have some learnings to share with all of you so that as much as you saw the value and impact we create, I hope you also have some learnings that you can take away. First, I think what is very, very important is, you need to understand the end state. And that's why I said, start with the why. If you don't start with the why, any tool that you buy or any technology you buy will be a good toy at the end of the day. Because you can have it in your shelf, you're not going to get the value. You must be very, very clear why you're doing it. And as I told you, that why is very, very specific to each of your organization. Talent aware is very, very important. We are in a world where, again, you heard Naveen say that AI is changing every minute. How many people can keep pace with AI? How many people truly understand what inference means, what eval means? How do you do actually model building at scale? How do you move from POC to production? How many people can do that? And trying to hire talent through the door, even in a country like Vietnam, where we have some really, really smart people, is very difficult. So even more so in every country. So you need to understand. You need to understand where the talents are. You need to start small. If you don't start, you can't finish. So start small, but finish big. I think one of the key points, which as a bank, probably as one bank in a country, we have the flexibility, I would say, dare I say, but we are willing to change the operating model. We change the business processes. We change the way our businesses do what they're doing by enforcing dictates. But yeah, in larger organization, multinational companies, it may be difficult. But the reality is there's true value unlock only if you're willing to change the operating model. Otherwise, again, AI and data will show you some good numbers, will show you some fancy charts. But if you don't change the operating model, or if you don't follow on what it's done, and if you don't connect the feedback loop, I think, again, it's not good enough. The last 2 points are probably the most important, right? We have a relentless focus, at the risk of sounding repetitive. We have a relentless and pedantic focus on value creation. If you just, like I said, if you just implement something and you say your production live, not good enough. Is it working? How is it creating value? How much money do we make? Are we helping our customers? Understanding this, so that then you can do more. That's very, very important. Lastly, you need to have continuous upskilling. You cannot have scale without skills. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Santhosh. Next up, please welcome Ken Wong, Senior Director, Product Management, to share with us AI-powered business intelligence.
All right. So as Naveen shared earlier, at Databricks, we have this vision of leveraging data intelligence to democratize data access to everyone. We know that everyone in your organization would like to use the data that's available to them. And our big idea is that we can create a system that actually understands the unique semantics and the unique business logics that you have in your organization and empower everyone to be able to do that more easily. Now, this isn't just talk, we've been building stuff. And so one of the kind of tip of the spear effort that we have is what we call the Databricks Assistant. Who, just out of curiosity, who has used the Databricks Assistant? Can I get like a show of hands? Not everyone in this room, but it's actually our most popular experience. Over 98% of organizations that use Databricks actively use Databricks Assistant today. And it's your ever-present companion on Databricks. It can help you do everything from write code to debug issues, or even fill out data documentation, which is something that no one likes to do. And we've been working really, really hard to make the assistant better, adding new features, improving the quality. And one of the big new features that we added just last week, we launched this just last week, is what we call the Databricks Assistant Agent. And Naveen referenced this already this morning. This is a totally new capability we have in Databricks Assistant that brings in the concept of an agentic loop. This means that now the Databricks Assistant is able to help you do not just simple tasks like complete the cell of code, but you can actually go through end-to-end workflows. And the assistant's able to correct itself, it's able to reflect, it's able to plan out the entire thing, incorporating your feedback, so that you can really kind of vibe code your way to an outcome. And what's unique about the Databricks Assistant's agent mode compared to the cursors and kind of other generic agents out there is that it is built and kind of trained and tuned for Databricks like Databricks tasks, like data science, which is the very first agents that we're launching with the assistant agent. This is now available in beta, and it basically allows you to go ask a question like, hey, I have a brand new data set. Please help me build out this exploratory data analysis of it, and it will plan out the entire process, generate the entire thing. It's super duper cool, and you should just check it out right away. Now, as cool as the data science agent is, it does require a certain level of technical sophistication to use, right? Because it is fundamentally still a code-first experience. And as Naveen shared this morning, our vision is to really share the ability to access data to everyone in the organization, including people who don't understand SQL or Python. And that's why we've been working over the last few years on AI BI. And AI BI is very simple. We talked about it already this morning. It has two experiences. The first experience is your classic dashboard. This is AI BI dashboard. It's a full-featured, enterprise-ready BI tool that has all the kind of nuts things you expect out of modern BI. You can, brush and link in your visuals. You can add filters. You can even drill down. Everything that you expect. The difference is it's part of your platform. It's not a separate system. It just pushes everything down to the fast engine we have in Databricks SQL. All of the permissions, all of the security is managed by Unity Catalog. And by the way, it's all free. You don't have to provision separate licenses for everyone in your organization just so they have analytics. Now, but what makes AI BI dashboards really special is that they can be paired with AI BI Genie. And AI BI Genie is a new experience, as Naveen teased this morning. It is a conversational experience where you can ask all the questions that your dashboard didn't answer. And we know that it's not impossible to build a dashboard with so many knobs that you can answer any question. Well, Genie is a great release valve for that. You can ask follow-up questions and really enable your business users to get the answers that they need. But Genie is not just, it's not just limited to the dashboard. You can actually leverage Genie in a bunch of different places. You can use it as part of a dashboard, as I mentioned, but you can also create a separate, it also comes as a separate dedicated experience where you can just create a space called, our marketing team has a marketing space that they call Marge, and all the our marketing analysts go there to ask their business questions. And then you can also use the conversational API for Genie to integrate it into your own chatbot experiences or your own collaboration tools. Lots of our customers are actually using Genie to power smart chat bots inside Slack or inside Teams so that everyone has access to data insights at their fingertips. Now, Genie might be a type of experience that you've seen from lots of different vendors, but what makes Genie really special and really the focus of our team's attention is to make it really tailored to your organization. So Genie really tries to realize this idea of data intelligence, and it does this through a few things. The one is that we take advantage of the fact that Genie is built on Unity Catalog. So it really learns and understands the metadata that's captured inside Unity, both passive one that you've entered in, as well as the active metadata that you accumulate through your usage. You obviously can also give Genie special instructions to tailor it to the specific domain, but it also is designed to continuously learn from the interactions that your users have had with it. And I'll show you how it does that in a second. So let's talk a little bit about this idea of leveraging metadata and leveraging semantics from your existing platform. So what I'm showing here is, we are creating a new Genie space, and when you do, and you go to the configuration page, Genie will actually suggest relevant queries that already exist on Databricks that people have used to ask you, hey, are these good reference queries for Genie to use to answer these type of business questions? And that way, when a Genie space user comes to that space, they can, instead of trying to create a brand new answer from scratch, Genie can leverage these existing definitions, knowing that they're known goods, and tell you, hey, this is, if you're asking for the top product by sales, this is how you've historically answered it, and kind of guarantee that these are trustable answers. And this is a process we call Genie knowledge mining, right? So one way we're able to learn from the unique semantics. Now that works great if you have existing usage, but if you are dealing with a brand new data set, we also have this idea of what we call knowledge extraction. That's the process through which, as you interact with Genie, Genie will actually kind of reflect on its conversations to try and generalize learnings. So I know this screenshot's going really, really fast. So let me walk you through what you're seeing here. So basically, in that quick screen grab, what you see is the user asking a brand new question on a brand new data set. So in this case, it's like a sales data set. It's asking, hey, how much early pipeline do we have? And as I said, this is a case where this is a data set that doesn't have a lot of usage on Databricks yet. And in response, Genie asks for clarification because it doesn't really understand this data set. It asks, hey, you asked for early pipeline. What does this early pipeline mean? Does it mean opportunities is in this stage? The user confirms and clarifies and says, it's the pipeline before demo. And then Genie will then go ahead and take that clarification to try and generate an answer. Now, this is a new question, so Genie doesn't put the big trusted sticker on its response, but it shows an answer given the clarification. And so what gets really interesting is that when the user validates this answer, assuming this is the Genie space author with the right level of entitlement, Genie will then go and reflect on the course of the conversation and the code that is generated and go, hey, what have I learned out of this validated answer? And in this case, it extracted the fact that, hey, I learned that there's a concept called early pipeline, where I look at the pipeline value based on the sum of the amount part. That's a concept that I can use for this question and any other like it. And I also learned that I can successfully join these two tables together, and it can store all of that information in its knowledge store. That allows Genie to then answer any questions related to this topic in the future. And this is just like really kind of the one example of what we mean by when we're trying to create a system that display data intelligence. All right. So, of course, there is this learned semantics, but we also support classic semantic modeling that you might be familiar with if you are a BI practitioner. For those of you guys who aren't familiar with semantics, semantic modeling is the idea of capturing centrally in a single place all the business concepts that describe a data, that describe like a data set. And that way, any system that connects to it that can reference those definitions. So you have consistent numbers across enterprise. And we have that. Our offering for that is called Unity Catalog Semantics. And what's really differentiated about Unity Catalog Semantics is that unlike proprietary BI tools, this is in Unity Catalog. This isn't, and it's which means it's openly accessible to any BI client. So if you think about your classic semantic models, like things from Power BI, from Tableau, from Looker, they're all great, but they're all proprietary. They speak their own languages. If you're connecting with a different tool, you have to kind of replicate the logic there. Not the case with the Unity Catalog Semantics. It's all centrally governed in a single place. It's accessible via SQL. We just introduced the concept of a measure inside SQL. And now you have a single place for all of your semantics. And what this means is whether you're using Tableau or or Hex or Sigma or any of these other BI tools, you're going to be able to have all these tools share a single definition of the truth. So that's the foundation of Genie and AI BI, like this solid semantics that supports both extracted semantics from your Unity catalog, captures from interactions, as well as formal models. And that means that we have a trusted base to build really cool AI experiences. And one of those really cool AI experiences that we're about to launch is what we call Genie's Deep Research Mode. Now, Genie's Deep Research Mode is much like Assistant's Agent Mode, brings Genie to the next level. It allows Genie to tackle much more open-ended questions. So historically, if you ask Genie a question like, how should I do something or why something should happen, Genie will typically push back and go, no, I can help you understand what your sales is today. I can't tell you how you could possibly improve your sales. Well, deep research changes that by leveraging the latest in LLM reasoning and give Genie that planned agentic loop cycle so that it can tackle some of these more open-ended questions. And I'll show you a quick demo of that in a second. Now, hopefully you're excited by all of this. You know, we got deep research, we got Genie, we have AI BI dashboards. One of the bigger problems we have at Databricks, though, is that all of that great functionality is unfortunately locked behind a pretty technical interface, right? This is the Databricks workspace experience. I'm sure a lot of you in the room are pretty comfortable with it. But if you're thinking about the business users inside your organization, this isn't a place you necessarily want them to live in. Well, this is why we are introducing or have introduced Databricks One, right? Databricks One is a completely simplified, really completely redesigned experience designed for someone who's not, who doesn't understand what jobs is or compute is, and all they're trying to do is answer their business questions. Databricks One is a single place where they can go and look at the content that's relevant to them, explore an AI BI dashboard, talk to AI BI Genie, and then also access the Databricks apps that people have built for them. So, of course, all of these slides are hopefully exciting, but I think the best way to experience Databricks One is with a demo. So let me quickly switch over to my laptop and show you Databricks One and AI BI. Awesome. All right, so we'll get started with just taking a look at dashboards. So if you ever use AI BI dashboard, you'll know that it is a very fast experience. So what I just showed is we're just going to go ahead and edit a dashboard here. Hopefully you saw that it's pretty quick to load. That's something that we really try to do with AI BI dashboards. We'll go ahead and try and edit this here. And you know, here, because we're in Singapore, I thought I would show a dashboard of a Kaya chain that a hypothetical Kaya chain. And you can see that in this dashboard, you can very quickly go and do some of the classic BI actions of doing brushing and linking and doing cross-filtering. And all of this is very fast and easy and dynamic. And you can also do kind of classic BI actions like drill down as well. So I'm going to drill to details on Kaya Toast and look at all the Kaya-related transactions we have. So all of this is built into your Databricks platform today. It's available for use, no additional license required. But of course, AI BI isn't a conventional BI tool. It features AI prominently. One of those things that you can do is just use AI to help you author things. So for example, I can ask the assistant to help me create a map. So I can say, hey, show me all my stores on a map. Sorry, I have a little thumb injury, so it turns out it's hard to type without a right thumb. I can hit enter, and then assistant will go away and think, and it shows me all of my stores on a map. Pretty easy. And of course, this is a multimodal experience, no code required, so it can always go to the right here and say, hey, I actually want to size that by the amount of sales, and just like that, I have a nice cross-filtering map on my dashboard. Super easy and peasy. Now, again, this is AI BI dashboard. It's easy for your traditional BI analysts to be able to use, and it's all available within Databricks. But what about the business user? Not the person who creates the dashboard, but the person who actually uses it. What is their experience like? Well, historically, they would actually get to AI BI dashboards in the exact same way the actual analysts would, which is in this workspace UI with lots going on. So which is why, as I mentioned earlier, we've launched this new option called Databricks One, right? Databricks One is a brand new experience that's accessible to everyone inside the workspace, and also as a new mode for business users where they can have this much simpler experience. So you can give business users access to just Databricks One and give them safely access to everything that you have in Databricks. And in Databricks 1, I have the access, the ability to search through everything inside Databricks. So I can find dashboards or genies that already exist. I can access some of those dashboards based on the recommendations of the recommendation engine we have. You can see a longer list of these personalized recommendations based on kind of recent activities and trending activities. Or you can also just jump directly into a genie. So by toggling from search to ask, here, let me zoom in here because I know it's a little small. I can start asking a question like, what were my top selling products in the past year? And just like that, hit enter, and then I enter right into that genie experience that you all know and love. I'll close this one here. So yeah, that's super easy. Just as a business user now you have the access to the power of Databricks with just a few clicks, and you can start talking to Genie to get answers. Now, I also want to show you deep research. So as I mentioned, Genie historically would answers questions like this one that are like descriptive. But if you want to ask a more abstract question, like how can I improve the profitability of my stores, Genie will typically push back because this is a very abstract question that it has trouble answering. So in this case, it's like this question I can't really answer. So what we're adding is deep research mode. And deep research, again, leverages the latest in LLM reasoning so that Genie is able to tackle these questions. So if we go ahead and ask Genie that same question now, Genie will then go ahead and create what's called a plan. And it's going to think through this question and say, hey, if I was to answer this question as a data scientist, how would I approach it? And it might come up with a few hypotheses, and it starts with this one. So you can go ahead and edit it and give it some feedback. But for the purpose of this demo, I'll go ahead and approve and start it. And once you approve this plan, Genie is going to go and execute all of these analysis. It's going to reflect on the results and then generate more steps out of that. And just like that, you have your answer. I'm going to bring up a previous example of this process, just because I had reviewed it earlier. And so what you see is that Genie is able to summarize all of this different analysis and say that, hey, I looked at your store individual profitability, I looked at your products, I looked at the trends and performance, I looked at your customer segments, I looked at who's doing discounting, I looked at the different types of payment options that you have, and I came up with these 5 recommendations, which is you have certain product categories that have high margins, in Kaya Toast again, Milo and tea, you should promote those. You should target more to your high profit segments like students and tourists. And then along the way, it produced a set of visuals supporting these hypotheses, and which you can go and dig into detail for further to confirm. So all of this is available to now any business user without having to go into the workspace experience and deal with code or notebooks. So that's a super quick lightning tour of AI BI Genie and AI BI dashboards and Databricks 1. If you like what you see, we have a booth over on the show floor where you can learn more. But even more importantly, you can access this today inside your Databricks environment just by enabling Databricks 1. And that's it for me. After the break, we're going to be telling you all about Agentbricks. So please come back. And with that, I'm going to hand it back to the voice of God.
Thank you, Ken. It has been an action-packed morning. Come back in 15 minutes to learn more about everything AI. Be back at 10:55 to hear from Standard Chartered, GovTech, and the AI experts from Databricks. Thank you.